Every now and again we get a new DC animated film and they are very hit or miss, especially with the fan groups some love and hate, and I think that's probably the case for mostly any bit of entertainment. But whenever there's a DC film, especially if it's animated, I have high hopes whether it's actually going to be a good one. See, here we have Batman and Superman Battle of the Supersons. Jonathan Kent and reluctant young sidekick Damian Wayne are burdened with saving the world from impending doom. The two must join forces to rescue their fathers and save the planet. First, I should say I was surprised by the story they went with for this one, considering we've had this story in live action version pretty much. I mean, it's different, but it's also the same. So I was surprised they went down this route. But putting that aside, I think a lot of people will have issue with the animation, especially if they're like the diehard fans of the new kind of 2D art style rendered with the 3D sort of CG fest that we've been getting a lot of. And this does feel like we're watching that Spider-Man CG animated series, which I love, by the way. But when it came out, it was great. And so I think if you can put that aside, you'll find a lot to like in this film, mostly because of how they've taken that anime style and harken back to the original comics. And I mean, going back to the original, even in the beginning of this film, there is a paying homage to how the Superman looked in the comics, and they carry that over into the animation style, so that every now and again you'll look twice and you'll see this kind of blurred effect, almost double like or almost 3D looking in the comics. You know, they had that kind of blue and red effect that comics had a lot. And even the way that Superman is designed, his original kind of chiseled look, the way he flies with the curl in his hair, very much kind of taking that original look. And then we have the score, which again can be irritating because it has that very old-timey score of the Superman theme mixing in with the horns and stuff, and you're like, what is it they're trying to do? Really, this is just paying homage to the original style, the original way it looked, using that computer generated graphics. And then we have the story of the sons, and I think for me this is where the heart of the film is, and obviously where it takes place. Without doing massive spoilers, if you've seen the trailer, you'll kind of know what you're in for. The two, Damian who is raised by Ra's al Ghul, who has been raised by Ra's al Ghul and is living with his father now, doesn't have any friends, and Superboy is just kind of coming into his powers, kind of figuring out or realizing who his father is. That's been kept a secret from him, and so the two super sons kind of have to team up, put all their differences aside, and save the planet. That really is the crux of the story, and is a lot more lighthearted than I thought it was going to be, especially with the Damian storyline. But it kind of works. The way they get over their prejudices pretty quickly. There are things that I was hoping that we weren't going to go over ground again. We've seen certain storylines done so much, and I did breathe a kind of sigh of, not again. Right at the beginning of this film, we see the whole Kryptonian world being destroyed, and you're thinking, how many times do I have to watch Batman's parents die? How many times do I have to watch Krypton explode? But there is a moment that kind of sinks as to why they're doing that, because there's a moment that kind of goes, okay, that's going to be brought into the story later on. And so you go, okay, I'm going to give that a pass and give the music a pass, and I'm going to give them the design with the computer generated characters look, because now I understand. Once you're in that first 10-15 minutes of the film, you're like, I get what they're doing with this. So you settle into the storyline or the story of the kids. And that's where, if you are buying the characters, then you'll like it. And the voice work here, again, is fantastic. You have veterans like Nolan North and Troy Baker, who's voicing Batman. And so it feels very safe in the voice work. I think they've done a very good job. And the action itself is brutal at times, but fun to watch. And seeing who the Super Sons have to go up against, I think that was always the fun part with this. So where they become friends, or, you know, bickering with each other, working out their relationship issues, when they become a team, seeing who they get into fights with and how they're going to overcome that. That's always the fun bit of this. There's a kind of a very much of a family feel to this. So it's probably not going to end up in your top tier list of best animated DC films, but it might sit there comfortably in one that you wouldn't mind putting on with a younger generation. It does feel young in its demographic. I think it's a 12 for a reason. There is some blood. Swearing they kind of cut out with scripting and editing cleverly. There isn't really any like massive breaking of arms. You see some blood in attack. So I think as a family friendly animated DC film, yeah, this is one that you will enjoy. I didn't mind this. I thought it was pretty good. So I'm going to give it 3 Nicolas Cages out of 5.
You got one.
Let me know your thoughts down below. What's your favorite DC animated film to date? I'd love to know. Thanks so much for watching, but most of all, until next time, remember, live long and Tuesday.